Hello and welcome to Get Strong and Prosper with Meg Walker. And if you are running the Tokyo Marathon this year or plan to in the near future, then this episode is for you. For those new to the podcast, I'm Coach Meg Walker. I am an online strength and performance coach, and I help busy professionals, that might be you, get strength training, break plateaus, reduce soreness, and make real progress whilst training smarter, enjoying the journey, and living life to the fullest. Doesn't that sound nice? And today I am joined by the man who surely has, or is got to be very close to, having the world record for the largest world major marathon medal collection by now. He's certainly running out of space on the selfie stick. It is Mr. David Yim, or Yimmy, as he is known and loved by the running community. Welcome, welcome, my friend.
Hi, good to be back again. And I've got to say, I have got a lot of medals,
Hmm.
marathon major medals, but I did meet somebody recently who has run over 100 marathons, and they did tell me the last time that they'd run New York 25 times, and and they'd run all the other majors, and they were getting close to having 80 medals that were marathon majors over the
Very
years.
impressive.
And I thought to myself, what a great
Yeah,
aspiration.
exactly. Exactly. You were like, game on.
Oh, that's a challenge. So yeah, no, I've had to put up another row, another poll for the medals since you last saw me, Meg. I mean, it was a real first world problem,
Oh, for
running out
sure.
of space on your medal wall.
And I'm concerned for the selfie stick. I mean, the last time I was running a major with you, I was already saying I think you're going to have to get the curtain pulled down and we're going to need a
See,
bigger lens.
See, you know all my secrets of how I get the medal photo with all the medals hanging on. I've got to admit, when I did Berlin's photo, I had the five sort of the five, yeah, five major medals, and it was getting a bit heavy and a bit hard to control the damn thing. And when by the time I got to New York, anyone who's seen my New York, my seven majors that I did all seven majors marathons last year, and I was stood there at 2 o'clock in the morning in Times Square, and I thought, not got the energy to put these on a selfie stick. So I laid them all down.
Oh, Medal Monday, we're done with it.
I know, right. And I laid them down with my second six-star medal, and got a brilliant picture of New York Times Square with all the medals. And I thought, this is a lot easier than trying to hang them on
Yeah.
the selfie stick. So, but yeah, doing all the majors last year, people have been asking me, am I going to do them all again this year? And the answer is no. I'm going to take it easy this
Oh,
year.
that is an exclusive, everyone.
I'm going to take it easy this year. I've decided I'm only going to run 6 marathons this year. And that's my version of
Taking it
taking it
easy. Yeah.
easy. Yeah. 10 was too many last year. I know people have run a lot more. Credits to them if people are doing that, but I do have to think about, not only the cost and the inconvenience of flying to these races, although it's been a great adventure, but the reality is it just takes up a lot of time.
Yep.
And can you actually fit everything that you want into life? And life is fun to do all these marathons. And I think I'm going to have a lighter year this year, and then get back into maybe a bigger challenge in 2027.
Oh,
So
there we
watch
go.
this space.
I was going to say, how many years are we going to get in before we tell the wife that you're trying to compete past this 80? When do we break it to her?
Well, I don't think I should mention that
No,
just yet.
maybe on the 80th year. Um, but also being from the coach side of things as well, the boring you police with this one, but also you got to think about your body too.
Yeah.
And I think the majors are becoming so popular. You're seeing so many people now like yourself doing 7 in a year, 6 in a year. It's incredible, but that is not designed for a yearly thing. Your body is not cut out for that. We've still got to respect that marathon distance is still a long distance, and we got to take that into account as well as, like you said, the cost, living life, the family. But you've also got to think about the body as well. And I think it's almost aspiring as if that's the gold standard and the norm that everyone should be achieving and fitting it all in the year. And it's not the case. Amazing if you've you've had that challenge and can. But it's not designed to be a yearly thing, year on year for your body to take
Yeah.
on.
I think, I mean, I've noticed that, I mean, last year, definitely in the last half of the year, given that I had an injury after London last year, I mean, I knew I was, excuse me, carrying an injury into Boston. And then London 6 days later, when I ran with you, and that was really, really good fun. And you'll remember from if you've watched the other episodes since then, I've had an injury over the summer. And then I ran the 5 marathons. And you know what? They were the slowest marathons I've run, but the most enjoyable marathons that I've run. So maybe I differ in the view slightly. I don't think you can run 10 marathons all out, right? And if I wanted to run them faster, and that's not my objective. My
Yeah.
objective is to go for the experience, raise awareness, inspire people to run marathons, and raise as much money as I can for the charity that we both support, Young Lives versus Cancer. But if you wanted to run them all out, I think it would be too taxing on the body. I think that, running them at leisurely pace, at party pace, as I call it, is the way to go. And having someone to run it with, I run it with my running partner, Diger, and we ran 5 races together last year. And those were the best races that we'd done. And running them at that sort of pace where you actually can recover. But this year, I did recognize that even at the end of the year, I thought, no, this year I'm actually going to run less. And if I really, really, really wanted to run marathons faster, I'd actually run less races
Yeah.
and just focus on 1 or 2 in the year. You're right, though, from a recovery perspective, if you're going for time. But, for me, I'm just having fun. So,
Yeah, well, for sure, time, like that is important. If you are really trying to push yourself and progress, then yeah, you want to actually be
hmm,
doing less to get that better output and recovery.
yeah.
But you've also got to think the body, the stress response. If you've been doing a lot more zone training, working in that zone 2 to 3, yes, you may be better equipped and recovered for that. But a lot of people, even if they're running slow, they're working much higher heart rates. You've also got to think about the season of training, right?
Mm,
When in the year, if you're running marathon to marathon, are you actually having that off season? That's the season where
mm,
we get to work on the things we couldn't in season. We get to
yeah.
work on injury proof, all of those things. So
Yeah.
an interesting discussion, maybe for
It's
another
a
time.
whole it's a whole episode
It's a
on
whole
its own.
episode. But today we promised it is all about
Ah,
the Tokyo Marathon. So let's get excited about this year. How buzzing are you for this episode?
I'm pretty hyped actually. You know what? It's in 5 weeks' time, as at the time of recording. 5 weeks? Actually, no, it's just over 4 weeks' time.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say.
and I am getting pretty pumped about it. I mean, ran it in 23 the first time. I ran it again last year, going back again this year, and I think it's a bit of a redemption actually. The first year I kind of enjoyed it and ran a PB. The second year, last year when I ran it, it was just so hot, and
Yeah.
there were a number of challenges on the course which we will talk about during the episode, and I think it's only fair to share those.
Hmm.
Um, and then this year I just want to go back for a bit of redemption, have a bit of fun. It's not my A race.
Yep.
I'm going because it's in Japan, and Japan, I love Japan, and traveling there is just amazing. And but it is a fun event to go and do as long as you're mentally prepared for some of the logistical challenges and the rules, etc. But yeah, I'm pretty excited to go back.
I'm
And
excited
then
for you.
it's my prep race for my A race, which is Barcelona 2 weeks later.
Nice. Very, very nice. So yeah, if you are running this year or planning to in the near future, I'm really excited for this episode. It's what an event, what a country, what an experience. You've got a very exciting adventure ahead of you. I've got a client running this year. I've got one already signed up for next year. So really, really excited for them and for you. Now, the aim of today's episode is to give you some up-to-date information that's
Mm.
impactful for this year's race. And then if you are still thirsty for more at the end of the episode, I'll give you some links to previous stuff we've done where we've expanded it a little bit more. I'm going to be doing a short YouTube YouTube video for some of the top questions we get asked in terms of like data packages and things like that. But today we want to stick very much to the expo and the race. So let's get right into it. This year's race is on Sunday, the 1st of March. And as we've just discovered, basically 4 weeks away. We're pretty much on the mark. So it's on our doorstep. And we want to first up talk about the Expo, which is once again at the Tokyo Big Sight South Exhibition Halls. You can't miss it. I always describe it. It's like almost this upside down kind of triangle, isn't it? And it looks like something like you'd imagine it to be the Avengers headquarters. If I suddenly saw it pop up in a Marvel film, I think, do you know what? That tracks.
Do you know what? It is like a spaceship that's just landed, and it's super impressive. And I said last time, it blows the London Excel out of the water in terms of just the how impressive that building actually is. And it is a bit far out, isn't it? You do have to travel to get out there. But once you get there, it's such a clean place. You see there's big spaces outside. There's queues to get in. Everything's very orderly. And if you've never been to Japan before, the one thing the Japanese know how to do, as well as the Brits, is queue.
Yes.
There are queues for absolutely everything.
Game on.
The one thing that I would point out from the start, actually, is unlike London, which is, the expo's open from Wednesday all the way through to the Saturday, this expo is actually only open on the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday before the race. So Thursday the 26th, Friday the 27th, Saturday the 28th, and of course the race is on Sunday. Like other races, there's no bib pickup on the Sunday. There's no packet pickup on the Sunday. And the times are a bit shorter as well, aren't they? In terms of just when you can actually go to pick up your bib.
Well, I still think they're decent. They're fair. So we've got 10 till 8:30 on the Thursday and Friday, and then you've got 10 till 5:30 on the Saturday. I don't think that's bad. But you've got to be aware that you've got 30 minutes extra for the expo after. But you need to be in before those times at the end of it. So I still think they're quite generous. I think, especially with London being a big favourite of ours, I think there's so many days and they're so generous. I still think that's fairly decent times. And actually, I think 8:30 is quite a late-ish time for some of the expos.
I think it's just that Saturday they open so late. It's 10 till 5:30. And, you think about London's finishes at 8 on most evenings during the week, and then on the weekend on the Saturday it does close at 5:30, but it's open at 8:30 in the morning. And the one thing I would say about the expo is just prepare for those queues, and be strategic about when you go, depending on what you want to get out of the expo. If you want to be in and out, then the first day is always the busiest day. And you could see all the social media reports about how much mayhem it was on the Thursday. I actually went last year. I went at Friday lunchtime, and I queued a little bit to get into the actual expo itself. But once I'd got there, I was with my friend and fellow Sports Tours ambassador, Emma, and she and I walked in together, and we were going to explore the expo together. And the bib pickup hall was empty at 1:30 in the afternoon. Now, I understood it got really busy towards the end of the day when obviously locals finished work, like London, when, during the day it's fairly quiet. And it was fairly quiet on the Friday when we got there. And neither of us had to queue up at all for the packet pickup, which was great.
And I think that's a question I get asked so much. How much time should I leave for the expo? And it really does depend on the purpose. And even what time of day you go. I've had people that it's taken 15 to 20 minutes just to pick up the bib, sometimes 40, depending what time. If you've hit a bit of a mainstream, it's 1.5 hours. So I would say, to be fair, give yourself a few hours. You probably, for the packet pickup, will be much, much quicker that. If you've not pre-ordered ahead for merchandise and you're planning to get it, my answer to you would be, how long is the line for the ASICS store? I think last year the record was like 300 minutes on the Thursday. So it really does depend. So I'd give yourself a few hours alongside plans to get that bib, I think it's going to take you much quicker than that. I think probably about 20 to 40 minutes, maybe,
Yeah,
depending when you go.
I think that's right. Talking about the ASICS store,
Hmm.
I mean, the year before, the first time I did it in 23, it was empty. There was nothing left. Last year, on the Friday, lots of the clothes had sold out already. And we've talked on previous episodes. I won't labor the point about it is pretty mayhem, actually. And it comes down to ASICS and Japanese culture, really, not wanting to create waste.
Yeah.
But it didn't help that lots of people were still grabbing piles and piles of clothes and stockpiling clothes and buying them in bulk, which I think was a little bit inconsiderate. But even when I got there on the Friday, I mean, I managed to buy this t-shirt that I'm wearing now. You won't see it unless you're
Nice
watching this
one.
on YouTube. And it's got a nice design on the back. I pre-ordered my official t-shirt. I actually went to do it this year and it's already sold out, for example. But yeah, I mean, anyone listening to this who wants to run it in future, when those emails come to you to say the store is open and you can basically pre-order your merch,
Do it.
then do it and pick it up because you basically queue up, you get your packet and you go to another queue and you pick up your pre-ordered merch. And I remember getting my Tokyo t-shirt, the really bright colored one that matches the medal with all the different colors on. And I was really chuffed actually that I managed to get, another, the official t-shirt. It was the only thing I wanted. The one thing I would say though is watch those Japanese sizes
Yes.
because I did have to size up in my Tokyo official t-shirt and I'm glad I did. And since then it's shrunk a bit. I'm sure it's shrunk and it's not me getting wider,
Oh, we'll
Meg.
we'll blame ASICS. We'll blame them.
Yeah, I think it's the
No
material. I
lawsuits,
think
please, but you know.
I'm sure it's shrunk. I'm sure
Yeah.
it has. I'm convinced.
I'm like, why is this YouTube disappeared?
There was a funny moment in the ASIC store last year when I said I was with Emma and two of us were in there and it was I was blown away because she actually found two t-shirts which were in
Dream.
her size and she was trying to do the whole which one should I buy? And I said to her, Emma,
She's asking the wrong
you're
person.
asking the right.
Both, always. Here's a third.
So Emma Board, do apologize. You ended up spending more money than you anticipated, but that's what happens when you go to the expo with me.
Yeah, yeah. On what in some hands you asked the wrong guy, in other ways you've asked the right
The
guy.
right guy.
If you want a cheerleader for merch, he's the one to ask. It's always going to be a yes.
It's funny. I ended up doing a poll on my Instagram saying, should Emma buy one or two? One or this one or that one or both? And of course, everyone said both. And I said, well, it's not only me.
Do you know what? That's a really good thing to put in your Instagram if you're ever held captive. Should I buy this merch? Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm worried about Yimmy." We'd all know. We'd all know something's amiss. I hate merch,
Oh my God, that's
and
so
that'll
funny.
be like your bat signal. Will come call it. Something's happened to him. But in a roundup for it, if you want to get merch, go on the Thursday. I think if you haven't pre-ordered to stand any chance, the Thursday's the day to go.
Yeah,
And first thing in the morning, I would go then, and then I would allow it could take you between 15 and 1.5 hours to pick up the bib itself. And
yeah,
if you're lining for that queue for the store, you're going to have to put quite a bit extra time on it, is what I would
yeah,
say. And fantastic advice about if you are listening to this and running in future, try and be on those emails to pre-order it. It'll
yeah,
save so much time.
yeah. Have a look at they are quite good though in terms of they have these boards, which I think is actually quite a standard thing in Japan, Meg, which is they show you all the merchandise and they have crossed out
Here's what
where
you could
they've
have
sold
won.
out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love their boards.
I also found the same sort of idea being used when my nephews asked me to go and get them Pokemon cards. And I went to the Pokemon store and they had pictures of all of the different Pokemon cards and all the ones were crossed out that had sold out.
They do it at
So
music
yeah,
festivals, and I call it the here's what you could have won wall. It's such a sad wall, but it does save you a lot of queuing time.
it does. But you know what? You go and you get your bib. You go to there is the ASICS store, which is right there, and then you go through this. It used to be the chip validation point, and you do have to have your. It's really important because they do check
Yeah.
is your photo ID. So you get your email instruction, you'll get your code. You go to the desk. It's assigned desks. You have to go to a specific desk for your bib number, which is where it's a bit hit and miss as to whether it's 15 minutes or 2 hours. And then you walk through this sort of like place where they scan your chip on your bib. Thankfully now, I think it was the same year you did it as well. They did away with the timing chip on the shoe,
Yeah.
and they put the strip onto the timing strip onto the MyLapse onto the bib itself. So they do scan it. Now, if you're shy about having your personal details flashed up, bear in mind there are these two big screens.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, they scanned my bib, my sort of bib popped up, and it was like Mr. David Yim, and it had my full name, it had my
Wanted.
date of birth. Yeah, it was like what? And it's like, don't look, and you have your full details on show. So just be aware of that. But they do check your chip to make sure that it's actually working. Because I know in other races that I've heard about last year, there were some people who ran and the bib chip failed
Hmm.
and then didn't get an official recorded time. So they do that, and you then navigate through that part. You go through the ASIC store, and then you go downstairs into the other part of the expo where all the other merch is. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know what was the experience like the year in 24 when you did it in that second bit post COVID.
So it was all right. There was stuff there, like quite a lot of stalls. I don't, they're not, I mean, the usual stalls you necessarily find at some of the other big major marathons. They had more like so I think everyone was more just crowding around that main ASICS store. They did have sort of like a Tokyo merch store in that second part, which is more sort of like fun items, more based around Tokyo. What I would say as well, I don't remember doing this in my year, but I have noticed an update for the information this year that there will be wristbands
Yeah,
and they'll be
yeah,
worn from entry. So when you go to pick up your bib until the end of the race. So that is
race.
something to consider as well. If you've run Berlin, you'll be used to that. But there
Yeah,
will be wristbands to have as well. So that second area, I think I was more bumping into people, chatting to people. I think there was more of the charity stands there in that second area. But the
yeah,
main focus really and the big appeal was that more of the ASIC store,
yeah.
I'd say.
So last year I was expecting that sort of like a repeat performance of 23 where I walked downstairs and it looked like a COVID test center.
Yes.
And it was pretty bland. It was like these white panels and you had to walk through. So you go downstairs into the second part of the expo. I think there was one store that had all the gels and stuff and it was really tight and there wasn't a great deal on sale there. Last year, totally different story. Right. And I was like,
Brilliant.
why? My eyes were like saucers, right? Because we went downstairs, we go through that bit where you do all the charity bits. And I was actually running for a charity last year and for Ronald McDonald House. I got a place with them. Although I did wear my Young Lives versus Cancer t-shirt and my vest on the race. But I did get a charity place through Ronald McDonald House. So you go there and you pick up your extra t-shirt. And I've got to say, the one from Ronald McDonald House, it could have been a house in
Oh, wow.
itself. It was this bright pink thing. And I sized up in that. And I must confess that I actually did leave it in
Okay,
my
so
hotel in
size down
Japan.
for Ronald McDonald House,
I mean, I mean,
size up
it
for
was like
the
wow,
ASIC.
it was like a tent. And if you're a charity runner, you also get another charities, an official Tokyo Marathon t-shirt with charity on it. So you pick that up there, and then I walked around the corner and I was expecting some like rubbish, mediocre stands. The first stand I saw was Brooks.
Immediately is
Now,
in
now,
luck.
now, 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 anyone who's ever gone and done big major marathons, you never see Brooks anywhere, right? And they have their own stand, and it was a big, flashy thing as well. I thought, wow,
I think they had it the year I did it as well, actually.
did they? I
Hmm.
mean, it was the first time I'd ever seen Brooks, and I used to wear Brooks, and I don't wear Brooks anymore. But
But the
then I
old
got
days.
I got even more excited because Saucony were there, right? And Saucony had just launched their Elite 2 trainer, and I was in heaven. I was like,
Heart
no,
eyes.
I
Don't
put
look at the
these.
light.
Oh my goodness. I put these trainers on and I was like Zebedee. I was bouncing around in these in these elite. I'm showing my age now. People don't know who Zebedee is. But I was bouncing around the expo in these like new shoes and they'd launched them at Tokyo. And I saw all the big brands there. All of the big brands were there. And I thought, wow, this is incredible how and a lot of effort was put into it. So it's definitely more of an experience now than it was when I first ran it. Maybe it was the COVID hangover in 2020, in 23. But my goodness, it was I spent more time in there than I thought I would do because I thought I'm just going to
Classic.
breeze through this last bit. And I actually ended up I didn't buy any new shoes. I've got to just
I'm proud
put
of
that
you.
on record.
Yeah.
But no new shoes on race day. But I did spend more time there, and the selection was much better compared to previous years. So be prepared if you like your merch and you like trying out new stuff. And the Garmin were there, and all the different watchmakers, Kuros, I think, were there as well. And then there is a Tokyo Marathon official merchandise store as well, where you can buy the key rings and the
The
snap
mug,
bands and
you know.
stuff. Yeah, the mug, yeah, exactly. The sticker, the fridge magnet, all that sort of stuff. Of course, I bought all of that.
Or I call it the commiseration store. For everyone who was sad and disappointed upstairs. I'll,
You
I'll
didn't
get a
get
mug
anything in
then.
ASICS. Yeah, okay, I'll settle for a mug.
Fine. I'll get a mug. No, in all seriousness, it's got some great little bit of merch down there as well, and other things that you can get for gifts or keepsakes.
Yeah, and as I said in the first episode, I will say again, you do get this bag, and they do give you some of these goodies in there. Just Google Translate what it is.
Yeah, don't be trying to eat bath bombs like
Well, that's
me.
that's exactly the point, right? I thought they were electrolytes, and to be fair, they were strawberry flavored, and I didn't expect them to be bath salts. And luckily, I Google translated it and worked out this is not for consumption.
If you see a man running, ladies and gentlemen, and he's having a bathful bath out the mouth, please give him some medical attention. It's probably Yimmy. So yeah, definitely do. Top tip there, Google Translate. So yeah, that's the Expo experience really. There's like a McDonald's, one or two food places around it, and there's two main train lines to get to it. One of them I'd say is about a 3 minute walk. One of them's about
Yeah,
a 7 minute walk to get there.
yeah,
So
exactly.
let's go into the race itself if you're ready.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this is one course that I've been studying quite a lot because obviously I'm getting ready to run it again. And I wrote all the course briefing slides last year for Sports Tours International, who I always use for my travel, as you know. And I'm for full disclosure, I'm an ambassador for them. And I thought, how am I going to break this course down in a really sort of memorable way? And Meg, I've come to the conclusion that this is the 4-3-2-1 race.
Run math, love it.
Right? Run maths, right? There are four switchbacks. There are three shrines. There are two towers, and there's one bridge.
And we love to
Right?
count.
And
Perfect.
if you just bear those things in mind, I'll tell you where they are on the course as we talk through the course itself. But it is a point-to-point race from the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building. That's where it starts in Shinjuku. It finishes at Tokyo Station in Chiyoda City. It's a point-to-point race, but it is the smallest footprint of any of the majors. When you look at the map and how much of the city it covers, yes, it covers 8 prefectures, I think they call them, or cities within Tokyo metropolitan, kind of like the 5 boroughs in New York. But actually, the footprint of the race, because 60% of the race is in switchback, it's actually quite a small footprint.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And another was I both last year and the year before have actually been quite hot races on the hotter side. And
Hmm.
what's such an odd one is you've got these big expansive buildings. You'd expect to have lots of coverage, little to nowhere to be seen. So it is Yimmy's spot on, about 60% Switchback, you've got these big old towering buildings and not much shade cover. It'd be interesting to see if another warm race this year. I always say with the weather, don't stress out. It's, information is key. It's how you apply it. Know what you're going to wear. Make sure you've got that extra Vaseline. Last year, I know on the waterfront that got a little bit bare further back. I think they got a lot of criticism for that, and also unexpected for Tokyo. They usually are the masterclass of efficiency when it comes to the marathon itself. I'm hoping this year they got enough of a telling off. It'll be improved. But don't stress about the weather. But that is also something to keep in mind for the race itself. Not much coverage there, but we'll
Yeah,
go into that layout of the course and break it down for you now.
I was also going to talk about the water stations a bit later on as well, but you get there in the morning. It's to the government building area in the morning, and it is 38,000. It's actually the participants have gone up by 1,000 this
They
year,
have.
and it's 38,000 people trying to squash into a relatively small space, but it's actually quite well organized.
Really well.
But I would say, because Japanese signs, it's they want to tell you all the information
Yeah.
in one sign, right?
Efficient.
It's really, really like they want to give you all the information, all the info. So when you get there, you do have to navigate and orientate yourself to where you need to be in terms of where your start pen is. So you'll have your start pen letter on your bib, so you remember which start pen you're in. The color of the bib is actually down to, it depends on whether you're a charity runner. Charity runners have pink bibs, tour groups, and all that sort of stuff. They have different color codings, but it's the letter that really, really matters. And you have to navigate to where your letter is. And I think you mentioned it last time. There's almost like this big crossroads thing.
Yeah.
And on sort of like three of the spurs, you've got mini pens sort of going off on these spurs, and you've got one main spur that goes down to the government building. It turns right, and everybody then crosses the start line. But you do have to watch out for the multi-level thing,
Yeah.
because there are some which you get off the station and they direct you, and you end up at the top level, and you've got to walk down some stairs to get to the actual the center square, where you then walk down that spur to get to the start line. So give it some extra time. I know some people like to turn up like 30 minutes before the race and stuff. Two things to look out for. One, the security is quite tight,
Yeah.
and they do put everybody through an airport style sort of scanner. They do scan bags, and they ask you to take any sort of like when you've got your drop bag with you, they ask you to put it through a airport style scanning machine, and they will take out all the things that are not on the acceptable. They'll take out all the things that are on the prohibited list. So
And that will be
things
coming
like,
out mid-February in the
yeah,
handbook.
that handbook comes out. Have a read of the handbook. But things that are always they're always prohibited are things like plastic bottles of any size,
Yeah.
aerosol cans, selfie sticks more than 30 centimeters long, that sort of stuff. They will, and then anything that is, if you're going to take water in, it needs to be in a pouch under 250 milliliters. And I know they did say in the rules, it's slightly confusing because they say you're not allowed hydration vests with the water pouches,
Yeah.
but you are allowed a hydration vest without the water pouches, and you are allowed backpacks, but you're not allowed hydration vests. So read the rules and make sure that you're completely comfortable with what you can and can't take in with you.
And a little top tip on that, what I would say, as I believe in previous years, you've got to try find them, but Starbucks do these plain cartons of water.
Yeah.
And I know a few people, both 24 and 25, have been able to bring them in. I think the brand is Fuji, and they're like these little
All right.
cartons. So that's worth looking. From the looks of it, I thought they were slightly bigger, but I know people that have been able to bring them in both years, and that's a Fuji carton from Starbucks. You got to find them.
Gotta say, I mean, Sports Stores International, I'll give them a massive shout out. They went out and bought all of their runners 2 pouches of 250 milliliter water pouches last year. It was
Amazing.
brilliant. So you actually could collect the water pouches, and I took some in with me, and I could have something in the start line area. But it is congested in that start line area, so give yourself some extra time just to orientate where you need to be, get into that start pen, and you'll find that actually it's pretty cool. You get into your pen, you'll see the pen behind you, see all the people like jammed up at the front
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
pen. And you basically, it's a bit of a party in your own pen. You do your warm-ups, and then it's a shuffle forwards. So I would advise do your warm-ups in the pen, and that, but because as soon as you start moving, it is actually quite fluid, and there's not enough time to do additional warm-ups. So
They're
just make
really
sure you've got that
efficient
time.
at getting
Yeah,
you
they
over the
are.
line. I will actually say as well, from my experience, the helpers were super helpful and
Oh, yeah.
friendly. They
Yeah.
really, the crossroads that Yemi was talking about, they do leave this middle space, right, at the
Mm,
center of each pen. You're kind of almost facing each other at the start
yes.
before they take you in. There's usually officials really guarding that space to keep it free. They're really helpful with direct you. What could have been chaos was actually really well organized and clear. And what I would say for some of the slower runners, I know they're usually most concerned about getting there early, getting to the front of their pen, trying to, because it is a race where you've got 7 hours and it's from the start when the
From
start
gun
gun
time.
goes.
Yeah.
From getting feedback from last year and the year I did it, don't panic with that. There is space to get to the front of your pen. No pushing. There'll be space near it. Like Yumi said, give yourself extra time to make sure you're not accidentally going an upper level and going under. But also don't feel like you need to get there hours early because it's a busy pen, but you can get more to the front. So just
Yeah.
don't panic with that.
Yeah. I think the three things that people worry about most with the Tokyo Marathon, the first one is the switchbacks because there's so many switchbacks. It's 60%, as we said, of this course is running switchback. The second thing is the rules.
Yeah.
And the third thing is the cutoffs.
Yeah.
They're the three things that people stress most about.
And I
Now,
would add in a bonus one there of the toilets too. There
well,
is no need. We'll
well,
explain that later, but
it's interesting because in the start line area, there are quite a lot of Portaloos, and you do have to walk down. There was, I don't know if you observed them when you did your race in 24. Last year was the first time I saw there were the cubicles, which were like pink and green. They were like this
you can't
lurid.
miss them.
You can't miss them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And inside there were the funniest sign of an instruction of how to use a Western toilet.
My Japanese signs inside my toilets are my favorite.
I actually took a picture, and it says you basically advises you not to squat on the actual toilet, but actually to sit on it, and it's really really funny. Go
I
and
love it.
experience just that. And then there was this almost like this trailer that you could walk through on the men's toilets, which were urinals.
Okay.
And so that was quite nice that you could just walk in and they were like just like urinals, but it unlike in Berlin where it's all in the open
Yeah.
and you've not got to be shy
Yeah,
using
exactly.
the urinals in Berlin. Although funny anecdote, I did say in my Berlin Marathon briefing for Sports Tours, I said, you know, there's toilets, these urinals are there. They're in the middle of the tier garden and it's quite exposed. You know, I'm not very shy, so I don't mind using them. The only problem with using the urinals in Berlin is they're very high up.
Yeah. Hello.
So tippy toes for short people, right? And I don't know why I'm telling this story, but no such problem in Japan.
No. Closer to the ground, the better. Like, you're practically in the hole.
Anyway, what I wanted to say was there
You're
were
peeing in
men's
Middle
urinals.
Earth.
but well organized last year, and also would point out there are lots of places to put throwaway clothing. Two things I would just make sure you don't do. One is urinate in public because the Japanese hate that.
Big no.
Right? It's a big no. None of your shenanigans in Europe European races that I've seen, right?
Yeah.
And even in Chicago this year, did you see those posts about people who were just basically going for a wee by the gates to the start, right to the start line? It
No,
was
but I feel like they
ridiculous.
did. That was a thing in London for a while, and I think they,
Yeah.
yeah, you know. So, but yeah, no, we're not
No,
doing that,
none of
and you
that.
won't get away with it in
You
Japan.
won't,
No,
you
no,
will
no.
not get away with it. I mean, so don't do anything lewd and considered sort of like rude in public because the Japanese hate that and it's against their culture. So respect that. And the other one is don't litter.
Yeah,
Do not litter. And we're talking, the carnage in the first mile of 2 miles off Chicago with clothes all over the floor. You don't really get that in Tokyo because people do take off their throwaway clothes, and it is quite cool in the morning. I think it was about it's about 7 or 8 degrees in the morning when I started the race. By the time I finished it, it was like 22 degrees. It was
yeah.
ridiculous. I thought,
Same.
Meg, where are you? It's so warm, right?
I know.
I've got the Meg curse. It's
I
another
know.
hot one.
Sorry.
But there are clothing bins, lots and lots of clothing bins at the start. As you walk towards, don't panic about taking it off too early. Really, really close to the start line, there's these big hoppers, and you can throw
Huge.
your
Can't
stuff
miss
in
them.
there. You can't miss them. It's a game of like basketball where you
Yeah.
roll up your hoodie and you
I
throw it
think I got
away.
a nice smack in the face with a
Did
glove
you?
at
Oh
one point.
no.
I headed it the rest of the way in.
And then on the course, you've got those people with the plastic bags.
Yeah.
So, and I would say the Tokyo Marathon course is the cleanest course.
And let me tell you, that's a privilege. If you've never been to Japan before, you'll find out that there is, especially in Tokyo, there's no public bins, no
Mm-mm,
trash cans. It doesn't
mm-mm.
exist. So the fact that actually, when you're running along, there are people with some bins, you are in for a treat. But please respect and make sure that you put the stuff in said bin. Otherwise, they'll be
Yes.
chasing you down the course.
And even on the course itself, I always say, don't be a gel end, right? When you've used your gel, put the gel back in your pocket. And then when you find somebody with a plastic bag, then you throw your gel wrappers in the bin. I mean, there were
Well
some gel
said.
wrappers on the floor. I think in the first episode we did, I said my big accident on the course that I nearly had and just narrowly avoided was a volunteer running onto the course and picking up one empty gel packet. And it was almost like it was their ultimate objective was to pick up this gel packet that had been on the floor for
Yeah.
30 seconds, and I almost tripped over the volunteer. But don't be respectful of the cleanliness of the course, and it is the culture to keep things clean.
Definitely. I had a volunteer almost trip up Thomas the Tank Engine the year
Oh
I did it. It
no.
was one of the few costumes actually I saw. You'll also find out Tokyo is the most I've seen, well, at least the year I did it, it's the most I've seen supporters wearing more costumes than the people
Yes.
running it. Crazy. But there was one rare costume of Thomas the Tank Engine, and he almost got took out by a volunteer trying to pick up his trash. So even Thomas the Tank Engine doesn't get away with it, people. Put it in the
Do you
bin.
know? Do you know? I think you're right. I think I would have said up until when we did this episode last year, it's the least number of charity fancy dress costumes that I've
Yeah.
seen. But actually, I think there were less. I saw less charity costumes in Sydney.
Interesting. Mine was Berlin, but again, I think I did a weird year of Berlin and it's improved since. But
Yeah, I think
least I've
maybe
seen is Berlin.
you're right. Actually, I mean, but when there are the one or two people who dress up, they go all out.
Yeah.
They
Like
go
Big
all
Bob.
out. I mean, there's one guy I remember running in those traditional wooden Japanese slippers,
Incredible,
and
right?
it literally this clack 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 sound. It reminded me of the time when I saw the guy running the London Marathon in ski boots.
Yeah. You
And
see
that was just
something.
brutal,
Yeah.
absolutely savage. But the year in 2023, the year I ran it, when I got that wonderful photo next to the Tokyo Tower of the guy in the panda hat, the
That was an
panda head.
iconic photo. Yeah.
And I thought, there's not that many sort of fancy dress people there, but there are one or two and they do call out. But I totally agree with you. The row of Super Marios when you high five,
Yeah.
and that last bit, when you come back up towards to the finish line, and the crazy sort of like there was a lot of Pokemon outfits as well.
Yeah, and
So
I think it's grown. I think it's more and more, and again, it attracts more of it, right?
yeah,
And so the course itself is measured in kilometers,
yes,
although I would say the signs can be quite small, so
really small.
really small. So keep an eye on that. If you measure it on your watch, it's a good way of tracking. It's also a good way of clicking your watch because the GPS really can go
Yes.
off in Tokyo.
I would 100% support that. I think the first year I did it, I got to 15 miles. I saw the 15 miles marker. It's every 5 miles you also get a mile marker, and you also get the halfway and the finish line, of course. And I got to that 15-mile mark, and I looked at my watch and I thought, I'm half a mile out. How can I be half a mile out? I never overrun by that much. And in Tokyo, I really, really did. So you're right. Kilometer markers, mile markers every 5 miles. And you'll see that they are very, very small. So keep your eye out for those and do hit that lap button just to keep track because you're right, that GPS. And I think I totally agree with what you said earlier, by the way. Zero shade given how many tall buildings there are.
Yeah,
If it,
I spent most of the race like trying to work it out. I was like, it's not the science is not sciencing.
well, exactly. The other thing we're going to get into sort of like the details of what you'll see on the course in a minute, but to look out for, of course, are those dreaded cutoff times.
Yes.
And there are 8 of them, and there are some times. Look out for rather than us reading them all
Yeah.
out. They are fairly frequent in every about 5K or so. Um, you do need to look out for the cutoff time, and if you are later than the cutoff time, if you don't make it to the cutoff time, then you will get pulled off the course. And there is a really sad shuttle bus thing, the sweeper bus that picks you up. And I did, when I finished the race last year, I went to support the last people running through, and I did witness the bus pulling along, chugging along really slowly, very sad, and people being put on the bus like less than a kilometer to go from the finish line. So they do enforce the rules, and all they do is they pull the cones across. Now, what I would say is 7 hours by gun time.
Yeah.
Right. And if you can comfortably run a 6 hour marathon, you've got nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about, right? Because even though it's a super, super efficient within 1 hour, 38,500 runners will cross that start line. I think it was actually done in about 42 minutes last year. The course is a kind course that actually does enable you to make those cutoffs. So if you can run a 6 hour marathon, if you're slightly worried, be at the front of your start pen, but otherwise try not to let that get into your head, because all it will do is it'll just make you feel paranoid all the way around, and you won't enjoy the race.
100%. And I'll mention it and then I'll put it in the episode description notes. I've done a whole episode to give you a little bit of motivation on that. If you're a slower runner and you're running about it, I've done an episode that actually is specifically for you. Obviously, some of the times talked about might have changed, but you can look at that in the handbook when it comes out mid-Feb. But that's all for actually having a little bit of a positive spin, and exactly like Yumi said, not getting in your head about that. So listen to that episode if you are worried and need a bit of a pep talk. But we believe in you. I
Yeah,
actually think you could look at that and be like, oh gosh, there's these multiple times, right? These cutoff times. I actually think in a way that can be motivating and
yeah,
actually helps. It's designed to help you stay ahead of it, right? And you're not
yeah,
suddenly getting caught out at the end. So
yeah.
believe in you. Don't let it get you
100%.
down. Use it to motivate you.
100%. Now, let's talk about the elevation,
Yes.
right? Because, if you're an ultra runner, this is pancake flat, right? Because I know a few ultra runners, and when they talk about inclines, they're talking about 15, 20% up inclines, right?
Yeah. Got a harness on.
Need a sled.
You're climbing it.
And the course elevation here, the max elevation's 41 meters, right? And the total elevation is 78 meters. So it actually it is classified as a flat course. And people say that actually looking at total elevation, it's flatter than Berlin. But there are some lumpy bits, I would say. It is generally flat and it's a very kind course. The first bit, there is a bit of a lumpy bit at the start in the first mile, mile and a half or so. And then there's actually quite a nice little downhill.
Yeah.
And then the only one that I noticed was going up towards halfway where you cross that bridge.
Yeah, I'd say the bridge is probably where you realize the elevation
Yeah.
the most.
Yeah, because I've got this photo of people, like a whole row of people going down, and I thought, hang on, this is like a descent, which means there's an incline coming the other way, and it's quite cruel because you've done the little turnaround at the uh Tamioka shrine, and you're on your way back and you're thinking like, why is this so hard? And
Yeah.
it's because your legs are knackered, and it was warm for me that day, and I was like having to cross this bridge at 28 kilometers, and it just felt like it was a bit of a sweat fest.
And it's
Um,
interesting you had that because when we talked about it last year, you're like, well, it's a really flat race. And I was like, no,
yeah,
technically it is. I was like,
mm,
however, from having been fresh, just done it the year before and it being hot, I was like, I think actually there is some deceptive little inclines.
yeah,
And it's not
100%.
actually the gradient, it's more the positioning and where they are. So I appreciate you actually last year, and especially in that heat, noticing that a little bit more. So by technical terms,
It's
flat,
flat.
right? But actually, it is deceptive in the back. You will feel it a little bit, and more so on the bridges.
I mean, come on. I have run with runners before where we've got to a point on the course and somebody's gone, Jimmy, you said this was flat. But it's a 1.5% incline over over 300 meters. I said, come on, this isn't big.
Yeah.
This is classified as flat, right? And London, as I always say, is flat with a few speed bumps. And you get some of those like little inclines around Canary Wharf, and you've got those little inclines, even going on Tower Bridge, for goodness sakes, right? And also coming out of that Blackfriars underpass. It's no different in Tokyo. There are a few little short little inclines, but you depending on where they are on the course, you will feel it because your legs are tired, you
Yeah,
know?
and it's the context as well, right?
Yeah.
You're where it is in the race, you're going over a bit of a bridge. It's also you've got them switchbacks as well, so that's taxing on the brain and thinking about that. It kind of all brings that together. But technically, it really is small. It is a flat course, but just be
Yeah.
aware that especially over some of these bridges, there is going to be probably a little deception in that you feel that gradient just that little bit more, but that's more
Yeah.
down to the
Yeah.
fatigue.
So let's hit those switchbacks, right? The first one's at 10K,
It is
right? And I
10K
would
minute.
say you will see. I mean, you start off the course. It is the most congested start I still feel of the marathons that I've run. The
Interesting.
only the only one that comes close is Rome, which is just hectic at the start, where it's actually lots of runners
I
together,
think
right?
Rome is just a hectic anyway, and I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I've got Mike is running this year, and I'm so excited for him. But
Yeah,
I do agree in that there's lots of bodies at Tokyo. It
yeah,
is congested, lots of bodies, but I do think because they get you over the line so efficiently and you go, it's not like it's not as overwhelming. But I remember us discussing this last year. And
mm,
actually, when I'd run it, because I'd run with Russ for quite a bit of it, we actually
mm.
found that it opened up fairly quickly. Whereas the year before, you'd found it congested for a little bit longer. What was
You know
last
what?
year like?
Last year, again, it was the same. When I talk about it freeing up, it means that I am not having to tuck in behind people and then having to expend energy getting past them because they were just running at a slightly awkward pace relative to my pace. So you're right. At the beginning, you start and you do this wicked left turn. Look out for the cameras, the TV cameras filming you as you pile round to the left. And then it opens up to like a 6-lane road and it's massive. And it's like there's a central reservation. You run under this bridge, you come up the other side, and then there's like a downhill. And people crossing over the central reservation. Just watch your footing doing
Yeah,
that.
I'd
But I've
agree with that with the start thing. You don't want to be dropping anything
no,
and you want to be concentrating.
no. You said last time a guy dropped his phone and you thought you're not getting that
No,
back.
I was like,
And
no,
it was
mate, that's he got swept away with the crowd. So it's definitely still congested in that sense. So watch what you're doing and don't drop
yeah.
anything, but it does start opening up quite quickly.
Yeah, it does open up wide, but I found that even last year, I was up to mile 8 before I found that space. And I've got it on my videos, and I did the mile videos, and I was thinking last year it was mile 9 before it freed up, and the year before it was mile 9. This year was like mile 8, and I was still bunched up with lots of runners. And there are bits where when you do that left turn, around 8.5K going up towards that 10K turnaround point, you pass the big stadium at Bunkyo City on the left hand side. There's like a big dome. You see, that's where they play the baseball, and the Japanese love their baseball.
They do.
And you run past that stadium, and it's like a nice little flat bit, and then there's like a bit of a downhill. You get to that 8.5K, you sort of do a left, and you run up towards the first turnaround point. Now, I did say this, and I think it's worth saying again. I did say this in the first episode. The course, you then encounter switchbacks. You see runners running the other way, and you're only separated by these little cones.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no barriers, hard barriers, like in London's, like along the highway. You've got that big barrier that separates the runners. And even in Chicago, where that little bit of switchback, you can see there's that barrier separating the course and the grass verge in between. Here, it's just the same bit of road, tiny little cones. And it's so easy just to go, and just run onto nothing stopping you from doing that. But bear in mind, 10K, you know what? It's about the integrity, right? And none of people we know would do that, right? No. Because you're just cheating yourself.
Not our listeners.
But you know what? There is a timing mat and the turnaround point, right? So if you miss the timing, if you skip the turnaround point, then you're going to get found out, because every 5K there is a timing mat, and they're quite judiciously placed so that they will catch people out who are just skipping the turnaround point.
They're
Get
on
to
it
the
with
turnaround
the
point.
security.
They are. You first turnaround point, you come back on yourself, and then you're into sort of Taito City, and then the next turnaround point's at 18 kilometers, right? And you will then sort of like get to see your sort of like your first big shrine, as it were. But before you get there, 14 kilometers, you'll pass this Nihonbashi bridge. You see these sets of 3 like bridges with like a symbol, with like a sign with 3 Japanese symbols on. You will pass that bridge twice. But that's the one bridge that you pass twice. So you pass that bridge, you hang a left, and you're then running up towards Taito City, where there's the first big shrine. You get the Kanemaru Mon shrine, and you see it is this beautiful shrine, and you hang a right. Top tip: make sure that you're keeping an eye out for the photographer on your right hand side, taking a photo of you. I know where the cameras are.
Listen.
And you know what? When you do that right turn as you get to that shrine, look up.
Yeah.
Because in front of you will see the Tokyo Skytree Tower. And it's just amazing to see. And you're thinking, oh wow, and some landmarks close to each other. And then you turn right, and again, photographers on your left hand side as you turn right. And then you're running down towards that bridge that I talked about. 20 kilometers, you'll see that Skytree Tower in front of you. And then you're sort of like, you turn left again, and you run up towards your sort of like, you come up to your next turnaround point, which is at 24 kilometers. It's the Tomioka Hachiman. My Japanese pronunciation is terrible, so apologies to anybody else. Forgive me on that one. And you'll almost miss that one, because you've just done that turnaround point. You do a left, you cross over the bridge, and then you get to the halfway point, and that's when I noticed, and I will mention it at this point, last year it started to get really, really warm, right? So you're about halfway into the race, you've just gone over the bridge, and you're looking for that halfway mark, and they had a water station right there. There are 15 aid stations on the course, and I got to the aid station, and I thought, wow, you're supposed to go on your bib. There's a number that tells you which table to go to.
Yeah.
Everyone ignores it.
Yeah.
Right.
They're trying to be efficient, right? If your table 2 or 4 goes to that one, and it stops that hogging and tripping up in the queue.
Yeah. But you know what? The first 4 tables that run out of cups.
Yeah. Which
And
is
I
what
thought,
they're trying to avoid with the
yeah.
bib trip, right?
But the thing is, though, they ran out of cups, so they just got rid of the first four tables. So there were only four tables on the five
No
tables
more mess.
left. And it was like, well, hang on, where am I supposed to go? And you end up running up towards, and then the cups were only sort of like half full with water, or there's only a trickle of water in them. So, but then because it was warm, people were taking two or three cups.
Tipping some on the
Yeah,
drinking. Yeah.
and they ran out of the cups, and it wasn't the water they ran out of. It was like New York the year we did New York. Remember, they ran out of
Yeah.
cups, and we were very unimpressed, right? They ran out of water at the halfway point, and I thought this is not good because all the people behind me, they're going to run out of water. And I actually noticed by the end of the race, they actually ran out of cups and water. So a lot of the aid, few of the aid, couple of the aid stations were actually just closed down, and there was no provision left. And luckily, I bumped into some people on the course that gave me, water. One lady I know who's from the running community, she's followed me around lots of races, and she had a goodie bag full of like Powerade and stuff. And I ran with a bottle of Powerade in my hand, and I thought, you know what, you're not supposed to have plastic bottles on the course, but you know what, it's
Give me water
hot.
then.
Yeah. If you can't provide, then I'm going to sort it out myself.
The universe has answered.
Absolutely. The university has given me, provided me with some stuff.
Thou
Anyway,
hast
so
gifted me with power aid.
so you so you run past the halfway point. You then get to the second shrine, second of three shrines. That's the Tomioka Hachimangu shrine, and you may even not see it. It's on your left hand side, and it's like you see this gateway thing if you're paying attention, and then like half a kilometer later, you'll get to the next turnaround point, and at sort of 24 kilometers, and that's your third switchback point, and then you're running back on yourself back to that bridge, and then you hang a left and you cross over that bridge again, and that's where you're going to be feeling it at that stage where your legs have run 28 kilometers and you feel that very, very slight incline. You then get to like 30.8 kilometers. You go past that bridge again with the three green bridges with the sign on the top. And actually, it's quite nice watching the world champs doing the races in Tokyo last year, because they ran past that bridge and I thought, I know that bridge,
Exactly.
You come past the bridge, you hang a left, and then you're running into Ginza. Now, Ginza, as you said, it's it really exposed last year.
Yeah.
It's the shopping district. It's like running down Oxford Street. It's like you get all the high-end stores. You can see the pavements really, really nice. Again, super clean. But I actually found that the sun was reflecting off some of those buildings.
Yeah, because even like the station, you've got quite shiny buildings, glass there, and you come in and it's a little bit of like a whoa, and it's the crowd as well has got a bit more condensed again, because Ginza is actually the finishing area of Tokyo where you're going to start approaching like finishing the race. People tend to stay in Shinjuku or Ginza, and I completely agree. You do kind of almost get hit in the face with it, either by the sunshine or by it's getting a bit condensed again.
And I noticed that all the runners were trying to get towards the left with a tiny bit of shade. So you almost get half a bit of shade on your face to just benefit from just staying out of the sun.
It was a bit like shadow hunters.
Yeah,
you're trying to find any bit of shadow.
Totally was. And I totally get that. And you then run through Ginza and you get to 34, you get to sort of like 34 kilometers, and then you get what I call the cruelest sign.
I agree here. You get a little bit of hope.
Oh my God, right? So if you watch the original episode or listen to the original episode, you get the sign, you see it on the other side, and it says 1 kilometer to go.
You're like, well, that went quick.
And you then look down at your watch and you realize you've got 8 kilometers to go. There's only one switchback which is more cruel, which is the one at the Midnight Sun Marathon, right? Where you actually see the finish line 250 meters away and you turn left and you have to run. Richard Loud and I looked at each other and rolled our eyes when we saw that when we were in Norway. But this one, you've got 8 kilometers to go. Now, this is the last bit, right? And it is a joy to run this bit because there are things that you will see in this last switchback. First of all, you'll see your last shrine on the right hand side. It's the Zojoji temple on the
Hmm.
right hand side, and right next to it is the Tokyo Tower, which is that red and white Eiffel Tower, mini Eiffel Tower
Yeah, the
thing,
mini Eiffel Tower.
which is really, really nice to see. So remember, 4, 3, 2, 1. You've had three switchbacks so far. This is your third shrine. This is your second tower as well. You do get to see it again when you do the switchback.
Hmm.
And you get to 37.5 kilometers. And then this is like little switchback that you run round. It's quite a wide turnaround point. And when you get to that last turnaround point, that's your fourth switchback. You've got less than one park run left. So
The maths is adding up.
psychologically,
Yeah,
yeah, you know what? And you know what? I bumped into some really, really great people on the course last year because by this point I was getting really, really hot. I didn't run it as quickly as I did in 23. I barely scraped under 5 hours this time around, but it doesn't matter. I was enjoying myself. And I
exactly.
bumped into friends who and somebody like Carla Keys, who was coming back from injury. She's big in the running community in the US, but particularly. And I thought, you know what, she's struggling, but she's getting it done. And it gave me that camaraderie amongst international runners was
Yeah.
just beautiful. I mean,
I
you,
enjoyed it too. I had so many people, actually, so many podcast listeners. It was so
yeah,
nice. The year I ran it was crazy. I'm sure my mum thought I was paying people. But people just being like, "Oh my goodness, they've seen the YouTube or whatever." But it's that,
yeah,
like you say, that camaraderie of international, just being like, "Hey," and I
yeah,
saw it with other people as well, just
yeah.
cheering each other on. It was a
You
really,
know,
I think, especially as you're in that last part. Of that switchback, the energy is great. You've got the
oh, brilliant.
performers, you've got the temple.
Yeah.
People are really getting that kind of last wind.
I would say, I've forgotten to say, actually, when you run down that from 34.5 kilometers, you're running down, you see the shrine on your right hand side.
Hmm.
On the left hand side, there are about five photo points. Look out for the little signs with the cameras, and it is like a target rich environment for race day photos,
Yeah.
right? So you do that little down bit, and then you feel like this is where I thought it was a bit of an optical illusion because I thought I was going downhill towards that turnaround point. And then I thought to myself, in the back of my mind was, oh my God, I'm going to have to run back uphill afterwards. But actually, when I was running back, it felt like I was going downhill again.
Yeah.
Weird. But
Yeah.
anyway, so
I
so
actually thought, yeah, I felt more of the gradients earlier on. And actually, that last second half, I felt it is more actually feels like more of that down curve.
yeah, but it was actually flat. And then you get back to that. There's a big right hand turn, and then there's a left hand turn. You see that 1 km to go marker again, and that's when it's sort of like it's quite strange. It's almost like there's this brick pathway that you run down.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And the crowd there was quite good going down past Tokyo Station on the right hand
Yeah,
side.
I thought
Uh,
the crowd. I thought the crowd for the year I ran it was actually solid throughout, but it really picks up again as you get into that
yeah.
Ginza area and past the station.
So I'll talk about the crowd in a second. You end up running to the end, and then you turn left, and then you see the finish line, and Tokyo Station's actually behind you, and it's almost like it's not like a big thing,
No.
and it's like it was a bit like when I looked for my finish line photo, it's like where's Wally? And because it's like there's not it's almost like a bit of an anti-climax
Well, I
getting
think
to
it's
that finish line.
confusing because you run past the station and the crowd's so thick, you feel like you're running into it, and then you kind of do a turn and it's like, oh, it's there.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And then it's almost like these two little sort of like struts on either side, and it's not like you run under a gantry or anything like in Boston where you cross the line and you go under the gantry. In London where there's this three sort of like gates that you can run through under a gantry. In Berlin, there's a gantry that you run under.
Is it missing a
And
gantry by any chance?
there's missing a gantry, and in Chicago there's a gantry. Damn it,
Where
and
is the
where's my
justice for gantry?
I feel shortchanged, you know. Um, and you're thinking, where's this gantry? And it's actually not a gantry. It's just these two little things on each side saying finish line, and you run through there, and you think, is that it? Now, when you finish, I mean, I want to say a little bit about the finish line logistics because they get you to walk a long way up, then they get you to walk
You
back
got to
down again.
experience it last year. I did warn you.
I
It
mean,
was
I
like
mean,
mini Central Park.
oh my God, it was like I didn't remember it being so bad first year I ran it, but last year I felt like we were going on forever, weaving around.
It's like a fifth switchback.
You're absolutely right. The fifth switchback. You're right. And it was another marathon on the end of it. And I had New York City Marathon flashbacks and like, why are you making me walk so far?
You walk all the way to the end there, do a little bit of sightseeing because you can see
Yeah,
like across the road, and then you have to go all the way back along,
yeah,
collect your
yeah.
bits, and then you turn, don't you? And then you've got basically this long old walk to go all the way to get out.
Oh, totally. But and interestingly, depending on your bib color, you either turn right or left.
Oh, I feel like that maybe is new. I
It
don't
is,
remember that last year.
and the reason why I know this is because friends of mine were get one of they were getting their 6 stars, but they were in one was going left and one was going right, and what they wanted to do was have their 6 star photos together at the finish line,
Okay,
and they
yeah.
actually had two different places to collect their 6 stars on each side.
Interesting.
So they
Okay.
were separated, and it was really unfortunate they couldn't actually get their 6 stars together, their 6 star medals together. But I just remember being really grumpy because I was walking so far and waiting so long, and all I wanted was water.
Yeah.
All I wanted was water. Just give me my water. Eventually, I got my water, and then I walked through as in a plastic bottle, ironically.
Yeah. Just
And
to
then,
rub it in.
yeah,
You can have
exactly.
plastic now.
Now you can have plastic now, exactly at the end, and then you get your medal, and then after the medal, you get your goodie bag, and you
Hmm.
get that poncho thing.
Yeah,
And
I've got it ready actually. I was even tempted to
oh,
wear it. This is my 2024 number. It doesn't really differ. They're pretty much the same every
they
year.
are, yeah,
But if
and
you're on
it's.
YouTube, you're in for a treat.
I should have brought mine down.
Yeah. We should have
And
we should have lied at the start for anyone listening and been like, we're wearing the ponchos.
do you know what? The ponchos are like those toweling robe
They
things
are.
that
It's
you
like you
wear.
I got put in as a 3-year-old, with the duck head
Yeah,
and
yeah, exactly. You put your arms out, sort of thing. So it's
Mhm.
not a beach towel, and it's not. It's like a weird. It's not a full-on poncho like you
Yeah.
get in. It's not like the New York
No, New
poncho.
York is almost like dry road material, right? It's
Yeah,
pièce
yeah,
de résistance, perfect. This
that's
is very
exactly it.
it's like toweling, but not too thick, right? It's a
I, I,
towelette or something, like a,
I,
a jacket slash towel. We'll work on the marketing for that, but
beach towel with sleeves.
there we go.
Beach towel with
That's why we
sleeves.
pay him the big bucks.
This and some poppers. I remember some. Anyway, so you get that, and then you get your goodie bag,
You do.
and they give you the bag, and then you walk along to volunteers, and they chuck things in your bag. The first thing you get is bath salts.
Yeah, if you haven't already had a mouth bath mid-course, like Yimmy.
But do you remember the weirdest thing? The next thing that I got was cheese.
Oh
Did you get
yeah,
cheese?
you did. I don't feel like I got cheese. I didn't eat
Oh,
it. I didn't trust it, it seems if I did, but I don't remember the cheese, so
I
that's
was ravenous. I had cheese, and I had my friend's cheese as well. I got all the cheese. I was cheesed off.
yeah, I like it. I like it.
You get one or two little goodies, and you get your goodie bag, and then you're at sort of like walking out. And I remember trying to escape the sort of like throngs of people, and I ended up remember the cramp then came, and I was like Tin Man trying to get out of the start the finish area, and then you exit the finish line area. And then if you've done a bag drop, now this I would say really think about whether or not you need to do a bag drop because
Yeah,
when
tell them
you
a little bit about the bag drop.
the bag drop it was crazy. It was 3/4 of a mile away to go to the charity bag drop, and it was, and I what did I actually get anything out of my bag drop? I think I got the face wipes out, and that was it. So I walked
All
three
of this
quarters
for
a
a face
mile
wipe.
for a face wipe, and some people I know want to keep warm even if it's sunny. I know my running partner Diga, she gets cold when she's finished the race, and I think that people need to, your core temperature's dropped with all that
Yeah.
exertion,
I say
and
stick your towel on,
stick a
and you'll
towel on.
you'll be back at the hotel quicker than you faff with
Do you
picking
know
it up,
what?
to be
You're
honest.
absolutely
Same
right.
with
And
New York.
it's, yeah, find the tube station or the metro station, and you'll be back in your hotel in absolutely no time. And we some really funny bumped into some people who I randomly bumped into the day before, and they followed me on Instagram, and you know, there's a couple, and they got super excited and wanted selfies and stuff with me. And then I went and bumped into them again on
Amazing.
the
Were you
tunnel
less
coming out.
grumpy by then?
I was
You
less
got
grumpy because
past the walk at the end,
I mean, yeah, I got
and
past
you
the
had
walk
some
because
cheese.
I'd had cheese and I'd found somewhere for a full fat Coke. And I was golden then, and I walked back to the hotel. So
Good
bear in
times are
mind
restored.
that last bit where you come out of the finish line area, it can be a bit crowded and it can take you a bit of time to get out. And the volunteers are very good at ushering you out of that area. So just be prepared for that.
Yeah, and make a plan because, as we said before, like not only do you have the GPS in the race, it's a very like lots of people around that area. It can be a bit difficult with signal. Make a plan with your family where you're going to meet them.
Top
One
tip.
of the most questions I get asked in terms of supporters is how do supporters get across the course? They do have points where they've got crossings, but one of the best ways to do is go underground. And
Yeah.
that is going to be really helpful after you cross the finish line as well. Come out, go underground, and think of somewhere to meet. I met my mum at the McDonald's at the Tokyo Station. Tokyo Station is huge and nearby. That
Huge.
is actually a really good place to meet them. Think of
Yeah.
somewhere obvious there. You can meet them, and then you can get straight on the metro together there if you're meeting with people. But
Yeah.
basically, you want to
Great
go
advice.
underground. That's going to be your quickest way to do things.
Great advice because you can't cross the course anywhere and then doubling back on yourself and the road closures and blah 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 blah. You're right, actually. The best way to navigate is underground. And you've got mobile phone signal underground as well, which is great because you can then navigate around. Google Maps is your friend while you're out there.
Yeah.
I tried to use City Mapper, but it was almost like Japanese style, too much information.
Yeah.
Google Maps was brilliant at just telling me where to go. Now, the one thing we didn't mention on the course was the toilets, Meg.
Yes.
Now, there are some toilets that my advice on the toilets is if you see a toilet that's close to the road, and there are some,
Yeah.
use them
I
because
completely back that. Yeah.
by the time you see where feel you need one, you might get to one which is then 250, 300 meters away from the course, and you end up running an extra more than half a kilometer just to go and use the loo.
Yeah.
But the ones that, and I did laugh at this. I remember running into a toilet stop and thinking like, I can see the toilets there. The last one was miles away. And actually this one's right by the road, and there's a collection of like 12 Portaloos. I could see a Portaloo village. And I ran into Portaloo Crescent, right? And in like those big races where you've just got people doing the wee dance in
Yeah.
front of lots of multiple queues and hoping that they're waiting for the door to bam,
The
we can
jolly
hear this
jig.
door. Yeah. People are that bouncing from leg to leg sort of thing. Not so in Tokyo. You got in there and it was almost like a snake queue.
Hmm.
And the snake queue, right at the front of the snake queue, there was a volunteer who would say, Stop there. And
Not
you
in
would,
Portaloo Crescent, you don't.
yeah, you're not, none of you rushing around and wee dancing in Portaloo Crescent, right? And then you'd have these other volunteers where a door would open and they'd shout, Hi! And you then, somebody would then direct you to the next available toilet. It was so civilized. It was
Yeah.
like, traffic direction, runners being directed to the Portaloos. And even late on in the race, I found the Portaloos to be of a decent, level of
Oh,
cleanliness.
it is a rare beauty. I will say that in Tokyo. Usually, when you go into Portaloo at an endurance event and marathons, you'd imagine that is where the world is going to begin to end, right? That's it's a picture you would think is similar. Tokyo, no, I completely agree. Further along, you got still very well looked after. Portaloo Crescent, 5-star review there. Um, but I agree. We talked about the at the start, Yumi was saying about, the biggest concerns. I do feel like the toilet is a fourth one, and that I feel like it's
Yeah,
almost
you're
become
right.
this infamous thing where it's created this whole thing about Tokyo and the toilets. But
Yeah,
realistically, you're not, most people are not trying to go to the toilet every few toilets, right? Whereas
mm,
actually, like Yumi said, if you're just being mindful, you see one close by, you think you might want to go, just go.
go.
Go to the
Take
closest
the
one because there are
opportunity.
ones that are further apart, but there are ones that are close as well. And just take the opportunity when you see it.
By the time you know what it's like, you see it. If you slightly need the toilet and you see a sign that says toilet, you go. Now that
Immediately.
slightly
Yeah.
need becomes urgent need, and
Hmm.
it's almost like your body's going, "Whoa, here comes a
Yeah.
loo," sort of thing. And then you find that the bit disappointment that you've got 250, 300 meters to run before and you've got to run like a whole block over because they like to hide these things out of the way.
Exactly.
All right.
No, no clean.
No, but you know what? Just again, I will re-emphasize the point. No urinating or anything else in public. And I know some runners. There was a pretty grim story last year where somebody, one of the runners, had a bit of a had a runner's tummy. Let's just say.
Yeah. And it was, you could see he had
Yes,
a
and and
runner's
and
tummy. It
and,
was
and he
visible.
it was down his legs,
Hmm.
and they ended up having some volunteers, some marshals chasing this guy,
Yeah. He tried
and
to dove and
and he
dive,
tried to
didn't he?
yeah
Yeah.
he tried to run off, and they just radioed ahead and had other people then intercept this runner. So don't be that person, don't be
And
that guy.
yeah, and to be clear on it, he unfortunately had to finish his race, right?
They
So
they
they're
they took him
so
off the course.
yeah, they
Yeah,
took him off the course because smell, whatever. So they're so on it with these things. It's like, please do. Of course, he didn't do that on purpose, but just respect the culture, and nothing crude in that in public. And just if
that's
you
it.
need the toilet, take the opportunity.
That's exactly it. If you're lucky enough to have a transportation sticker, then stick it on you.
Hmm.
Um, I I actually took the sticker and put it in the back of my phone case because it was like a really thick vinyl thing that if you stuck it on your vest, it would actually just scratch against you. But if you're lucky enough to have a transportation voucher, they have these buses that take all the runners back to the station, to their hotel, sorry. I actually found it was easier just to get the metro
Yeah.
home and it back to the hotel, and it was just so easy. And I know you like walking after the marathon anyway, Meg. I did think of you as I was
Yeah,
marching that.
but even me though, I have my things. I was like, I'd rather walk out of the exit. The
Yeah,
exit
yeah,
is taking
yeah.
forever.
But you know what? That's three-quarters of a mile to walk to get to the bag pickup was just, it wasn't
A
worth
bit
the
too much. No,
miles.
yeah,
Yeah, and then I had to walk back again to get to the station, and it was like, duh, I really needed this,
mm.
not.
Get me that full fat Coke.
Yeah, New York vibes. But as soon as I got my full fat Coke, I was happy as Larry.
Exactly, exactly. Something to mention about in terms of refreshment, the drink of choice for Tokyo, the sponsor is Pocari Sweat. Yimi thinks it tastes like old socks. I actually think it's not that bad. I think it's almost I made sure my clients that they always taste it beforehand. This episode's coming out about a month before, so I recommend for you as well. Try and find some of it to practice. Nothing new on race day, as we say. I think my client said it tastes almost like a bit like a light lemon squash. I think it tastes a bit grapefruity.
Grapefruit. Yeah, I think
I
it
like it. I
is.
actually think it's quite mild and refreshing.
I think it's grown on me. And you can actually buy it. It's actually in London. It's actually quite widely available
You can
now.
get it
All
in
the
Central really easily. I was
Yeah,
telling my client, like, if you don't get to have it in Australia, like she's in London this week, I was like, you can get it no problem.
go to Chinatown, any of the Chinese supermarkets, Oriental supermarkets, and if you're in Canary Wharf, right opposite Waitrose, there's a Tien Tien, and you can go in there and they sell Pocari Sweat in the can, in the pouch, and all
Mhm.
sorts of stuff. You can even buy it in the 2 liter bottle, I believe.
Yes, you
So
can.
you can try it out, and I would say get there into Japan and go to a vending machine,
You can get them no
use your
problem.
Suica or
Mhm.
Pasmo card. I mean, we would have talked about that in the first one. That's your sort of like advanced payment cash card that you can just load up, and that's currency in Japan. Buy one from a vending machine and try it out before race day because that is the sports drink of choice. And I was maybe a little bit cruel as I wasn't used to it for the first time. I said it tasted like old socks, but it's now I would say an inoffensive light citrus flavor.
Yeah, and it is one of those things. Some people are like, oh, I do prefer the harder stuff with the Gatorades and the Lucasades. And then other people like me, I was actually, do you know what? I actually quite like the fact it's a bit lighter, but definitely
Mm,
try it. Nothing new on race day. And even if you haven't tried before you got to Japan, you'll have endless opportunities in vending machines, like you
yeah,
said.
yeah, yeah.
Other interesting fueling in Japan is at their fueling stations where we have a range. We have plums, we have little pancake dolls, um, all sorts, don't we?
Nothing new on race day, right? It's bad
Mhm.
enough advising runners doing London,
Yeah.
saying don't take the Lucozade gels because there's only two gel stations. They come too late and you won't have had time to practice them because they're not that easy to get a hold of. And they're gels and the weirdest stuff. That the whole plum, sour plum, salted plum, whatever it was, plum
Hmm.
thing. I just looked at it and thought that does not appeal to me, and I'm not going to have some of that. I did actually. Consequently why I probably felt quite hungry at the end of the race. I
Yeah.
normally take a piece of flapjack with me, in a little pack and put it in my running belt.
It's
So
one
I,
of the races we say definitely come prepped with your own
yeah,
fueling for that race. I actually, what I did is like the last fuel station at the end, I took a few things and put them in my pocket. They got a bit crushed because I was like, oh, I definitely we don't want to risk it and nothing new on race day, but I was like, I want to try a pancake doll. So I had a very squashed pancake doll at the end. So by all means, take some things at the end to try, but we definitely would advise if you're not used to having this stuff,
yeah,
be mindful. And it's one of the few
yeah,
races where I'm like, if you can, definitely bring your own fueling and be prepared with that.
yeah, absolutely. And that's the race,
It
That's
is. How
it's
exciting.
doing this episode has got me now really excited about it now and
I'm
looking
excited for
forward
you.
to, seeing this course again. And I'd be prepared for the lack of shade. I know if it gets warm, it gets warm. At the moment, our friend Richard sent me this race cast website. Damn him, he knows that it's my my paranoia thing, and now I'm addicted to looking at it. And Racecast said it's going to be sort of 8, 9 degrees at the start, and it's going to go up to about 10, 11, 12 degrees. I don't believe it for a minute because that's what they said last year, and it got up to 21.
Well,
I
they
mean,
usually say between 2 and 10, but the last 2 years has definitely gone over that.
yeah, it is. It's been warm, and I've got to say, nothing like Berlin Inferno, right?
Hmm.
Started at 25 degrees and got up to 28, 29 degrees on the course. And that was the most horrible conditions to run in. And that's why I call it the Berlin Inferno. I can't wait to do the episode on that
Yeah.
one. Right. Um, but it did get warm, and the lack of shade does mean, I mean, I was prepared with I had my sleeves that I could roll off if I wanted to. I can't remember if I actually did. I had my cooling towel with me as well, which was really, really helpful. Bumping into people on the course who could hand me stuff. I thought the crowd was better than it was in 23. You said it was much more
I thought it was
lively.
brilliant in 24, to be honest. I'm
Look,
pretty thorough throughout.
it's no London, it's no New York. It was more like I mean, even Chicago's so consistent now, but I felt there were lots of places on the course where it was super quiet, and the people who were the noisiest were the band of international supporters, because obviously post-COVID, now a lot more tourists coming in,
Yeah.
people coming in with their families. A lot more noise was being made. I mean, I could tell because the Japanese supporters were still politely clapping.
Yeah.
They
See,
weren't doing the cheering.
this is why
Uh,
it's so interesting because it can differ from race to race, right? So, like the
yeah.
year I did Berlin, actually, I was so shocked. It was mainly just international, and then barely anyone
Mm.
else was cheering on. In fact, when I finished the race, I was like, come on. Whereas when I did Tokyo, actually, like I would say it was mainly Japanese residents making the noise.
I didn't find that at all. And the people who were, and I knew who was making the noise because they were saying, "Come on," such and such. They were shouting English
Hmm.
things. There wasn't as many of the funny signs that you see in some of the races. And Meg,
Yeah,
we need to do an episode just on the funny
we
signs we've
do. We
seen. Some of
do.
them are savage. But there were none of those sort of lot. No, there wasn't as many of those funny signs, and the people who were making the noise were definitely international supporters shouting your typical, not far to go now sort of thing. Yeah, really irritating. We were 1 mile in, sort of thing.
One park
Um,
run to go.
that's what I normally shout, to be fair. But
Which we love that one.
yeah, but you know what? I've run one park life in my entire life. So I don't know why. I'm just trying to say it's 5K, but I know a lot of people do park runs, right?
Yeah, no, but
And
it's become a thing, right? We all think it. I've actually a shock fact about me. I've never done park run ever. I know you've
I'm
heard it
blown
here
away.
first.
You know what? I've run more marathons than I've run park runs.
Same here. I've
I
done an
can
Ironman before I've done a park run. But
I
I
could
still
count
in
on
my
one
head,
hand.
I'm same thing. I'm like it just tells you what amazing branding, etc. Because in my head, I've never done one, and I'm like one park run to go.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the last switchback in Chicago. When you get to the bottom, you turn left, and before you turn left to go back up Michigan, I shout one park run to go. And this turnaround point as we get there, so less than one park run to go. Berlin's a bit trickier because 5K to go is in a bit of a nondescript
Yeah,
area near
exactly.
Philharmonie. You've just passed through the Broken Tooth, and it's somewhere there. And I did put into somebody's head that it's actually at the Broken Tooth, but it's not at all. That's 7K to go. And they were cursing me all the way in the last 2K, going, Yumi said it was 5K, but it was not.
It was like the year you ran Tokyo First in 23. We did that episode, and the year I went to do it, it's so funny because you'd suggested for Medal Monday the Starbucks, but it
Yes.
was under construction that year.
Oh,
And
yes, in
I
Shibuya
was
Crossing.
I was at the junction and I was behind these women and they were going like he definitely said there was a Starbucks here, whatever. And I'm stood behind quite quietly and I'm thinking, this sound, and actually, then they stood around, turned around, and was like, "Oh my gosh, it's your podcast. We were just talking."
And
I was
you,
like,
you
"I'll
should
pass on the notes."
you should have said, "Here's his number. You can spam him."
Yeah, I did. I did. I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Lovely guy. Don't think he's coming back next year." But
Well,
no, it's
I
so
am.
funny. But is it back now? Because when we looked, it was under construction.
I think it is. I mean, that's Shibuya. This scramble is gone a lot of. There's been a lot of construction around there, and they've built Shibuya Sky and stuff like that as well. But I think there was quite a lot of that whole area that was being developed last time. So maybe it'll be back. I'll report back.
Please
I'll
do.
head over there, get myself. I'm not a massive fan of Starbucks coffee, but I'll go and
Nor
buy.
me, nor me. But you go in, it was
It was for the
specifically,
few.
yeah, before we have any haters, it was specifically for the Medal Monday
Yeah,
photo,
yeah,
going
yeah,
in
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
getting the job done, getting the photo. But it was
yeah.
so funny. I just overheard and I was like, could it be? So, yeah, things do change. We report back. But before we wrap up, Yumi, big question.
Go
Will
on.
you be going to Salvatore, Cuomo and Bar this year for your
I
pre-race pizza?
maybe. Uh, I did actually go last year. I did
You
go back.
surely must be sponsored by now.
it was really funny because I walked in and the like half the tables there were people who'd listened to the episode. I said, "Oh my God, it's Yimmy." I said, "Well, I did say this is my carb loading place. Although recently I might not go there to carb load. I might go there just to have pizza while I'm there.
You do like a ramen, don't
I
you?
do like, oh, you know what? You know, Diger and I, we've run these races together. We've kind of got into this whole pattern of ramen as our carb load,
Hmm.
pre-race carb load meal. I mean, Chicago was amazing. We had it there. In Sydney, we had it after the race, but I discovered it sort of like the day before, sort of thing. But ramen is the thing for me now. And like, come on, Tokyo
Yeah, you
is
abundance, you endless places that could be good to recommend. So
so good, and I'm looking forward to the food and the culture. Oh, I can't wait. I can't
yeah.
wait. But I will go for pizza just for old time's sake, as it were.
Yeah. So tiny bit of quick context there. If you go, you can go listen to the big episode and you hear more about it. But essentially, Japan's actually one of the next best places in the world for pizza outside of Italy. And if you're carb loading, you want to like it's the culture's new to you. You want to stick to something familiar and get
Familiar.
something like a pizza. Yimi gave a fantastic suggestion of a place called Salvatore Cuomo and Bar. It's a chain, so there's a few around Tokyo. You'll definitely find other runners there. I say Yumi really should have a sponsorship deal with them now because the year I went as well, I just had, I think the restaurant was filled with podcast listeners. But I will put the details of that
Yeah,
in the show notes for you. But
100%.
otherwise, enjoy, get
Have a great
excited.
time. Yeah, I'll see you out there. If you're running, come say hi, give us a high five on the course, give us a fist bump, and yeah, have fun. That's the main thing.
It is. And if you're listening in the episode description, I'll put my social details. I'll put Yimmy's details. If you happen to want to watch this, do this again and watch on YouTube, you can. I'll also put the links to the previous episodes. And I did
Yeah,
promise I will do a short YouTube as well, covering some of like the top tips in terms around. I know lots of people are asking about data for phones and things like that. And we'll cover that then.
yeah.
But enjoy and we'll speak to you soon.